Do you ever wonder how a great painting comes into existence? Well, we have in the studio with us today a wonderful artist who is going to share some of his magnificent paintings with us and explain how they come into being. Stay with us. We'll meet Stanton Manolakis. And welcome back. And we're fortunate in having in the studio with us today Stanton Manolakis. Welcome, Stanton.
Thank you.
And Stanton is an artist who's from California, actually, although he was born, lived in Detroit till about the age of 12.
Right. Then my parents moved from Detroit to Los Angeles, and I've been living there ever since. But most of my early days and early memories are of Detroit, and the memories that I have really go into a lot of my work. So, Detroit, this whole area has been just very much a big
Part
influence
of your life.
Yes.
And actually Stanton has relatives in the Detroit area, including our own Lee Velicities, who does VIP sports, and that's how we happen to get him on this program today. But I feel really fortunate in having you on because you are a wonderful artist, as all of you will discover during this half hour as you join me in looking through some of Stanton's work and having him talk about it. And the first piece that you have with us is from Los Angeles. Is that
the Los
right?
Angeles area. The piece is entitled The Night Flight, or The Flight by Night, excuse me. And it's of Angel's Flight approximately from the era about 1934 to 1936.
Now, you are a historical artist.
Yes.
So this is your genre, basically. Yes. You're not doing flowers and paintings and scenery.
No.
You're doing historical art from different places around the country.
Yes, and I work, I specialize in American cities and waterfronts from the period of approximately 1850 to 1950, and which brings me into specializing in a lot of urban transportation, railway scenes, harbor, maritime scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because you end up being known sometimes almost as much as an historian as you are an artist.
Yes,
Which,
and you have to be historically accurate.
You try to be as accurate as you can. Sometimes that is difficult because resources are lost. For example, it took me years to do this piece because just as I was about to get started on a lot of work on downtown LA, they had the unfortunate fire at the library. And those photos were being restored, and that took about 4 or 5 years before that was done. So that left me without a lot of resources.
Right.
For a long
Now,
time.
when I first looked at this painting, I thought it was San Francisco because of the hills.
Yes.
But that tall hill was a little railway system. Is that
Yeah,
is
this
that
was
correct?
Angel's Flight was the shortest incorporated railroad in American history. It ran approximately 300 feet from Hill Street at the corner of 3rd to Olive. This is Olive up here.
Okay.
Right beyond the station, to the corner of Olive and 3rd. And Bunker Hill, which is where the railroad ran to, was the richest area in the city of Los Angeles at one time. And the very wealthy lived on this hill because this whole area down below and Hill Street was the part of the flood basin for the LA River, and during rainy seasons this oftentimes would be flooded out and people would lose everything they had. So the wealthiest of Los Angeles residents built their homes up on top of Bunker Hill.
Okay.
And at one point this hill was so formidable in its steepness and size that it was thought that Los Angeles would never be able to grow beyond the confines of Bunker Hill.
Uh-huh.
Which proved wrong, of course.
Right. Stanton, you work in the medium of watercolor, right, as opposed to oil.
Right.
What are the reasons for that?
Well, one of the reasons I work in watercolor is what separates me from other artists. I handle the medium in a very unusual way. And the other thing is I'm having gone through Greenfield Village one time, having seen some of these early American paintings that were maybe 150, 160 years old, I saw the condition they were in, even though they're well cared for. But you see the surfaces cracking and splitting. And I said, gee, I don't want that to happen to my work. So I investigated watercolor. The palette which I use is totally light fast. In other words, in any medium, the pigments that I use will not fade or react chemically to any known substances. And if properly cared for, the only thing that might happen is over a period of years or decades, the paper, which is rag paper, may become brittle. But if kept in an acid-free medium, under ultraviolet filtering glass, which are all commonly used materials now. These paintings will look the same 500 years from now as they did the day I completed them. So unfortunately, a lot of people feel that oil is a more permanent medium. In my opinion, and according to my research, it isn't, which is why I work in watercolor.
Okay. All right.